I've been sitting back there for the last 15 minutes blubbering, so I might be dehydrated. If I pass out, someone come and drop an elbow on me or something. We can get some mileage out of it at least. Love all of you.
Thank you, Hunter!
It doesn't get any better than having... I'm not good talking when I get choked up. We might be here for a while.
Sounds good to me, Hunter. Let's go.
They say in life, if you can find a true friend, you're truly a rich man.
Go, you man, you can talk.
He makes me a billionaire. Thank you all for being here, first of all. I want to mention just off the top, first of all, Motorhead. That song to me just never gets old. Lemmy gave me the gift of his sound and his friendship, and I could never repay him for that. One thing before we get started tonight, I wanted to take a moment to do one little thing here. Rich Herring, please stand up. Many of you saw Rich get inducted in the Hall of Fame a few years ago, but he's here tonight. I wanted him to be here. Just so happens that on this day today, 55 years ago, Rich Herring did his first show for the WWF.
Wow.
And he has never left this company.
Damn, wow.
He was here through thick and thin, and as I would learn to know him, I would start to call him the Wolf, like in Pulp Fiction. Because if shit went really bad, if something was really messed up and you didn't know what to do, I would just call the Wolf and he would fix it.
Yep.
Thank you, Rich, for all your years.
Whoa!
For being here. You were the man. Thank you. A lot of us would not be here, especially my friends, if it wasn't for Rich Herring.
Nope.
You know, when Nick first sprang this on me, as we were doing a town hall, and out would walk Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, and I was thinking to myself, like, probably should have read this format better before we came out here, because I didn't know these guys were coming out, and I had no idea what they were doing. Since that moment, I've been trying to think about how do I talk about this, and I still don't know how. You know, everybody has their version of these speeches. Some are short, some are long, some from past years are still going right now. Mr. T is somewhere.
Yeah.
He loves his mom.
Yeah.
And he's just going home with the finale of that speech. But I get it now. This is by far one of the hardest things to put together. The deeper I dug into it, the harder it got. And I realized that as I went through this, it wasn't about me. It was about the people that got me here.
Well said, Hunter.
At the end of the day, I'm just a kid from New Hampshire that at 5 or 6 years old was sitting on my dad's lap, saw Chief Jay Strongbow, and I never looked back. It was all I ever wanted to do. It was all I ever wanted to be. But without the people in your life that give you that encouragement, that lead the way, that help in whatever way they can, you just don't get there. I had a lot of those people, and I was very lucky to have them. People will say in life when they look at somebody, oh, he's a self-made man, or, you know, he came from nothing and became something. He's a self-made man. There isn't a self-made man on this planet. Everybody is a product of the people around them and what it leads them to do. For me, it starts with my parents. I've said it before when we did DX. My mom taught me all that stuff.
We can believe it! Thank you, Hunter's mom!
Yeah, she'll tell you to suck it. Just wait.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you, Mom!
But they taught me a work ethic and a skill set, not to become rich, not to do anything else, because working your ass off is what's right to do. If you believe in something, work until you have it. Work until it is yours. They taught me that. And if I could just take a personal second, tonight is their 61st anniversary. My sister Lynn is here, always supportive, always believing in me. She's 4 years older than me. I can remember one time a kid same age as her beating the shit out of me. I went home and told her, and she proceeded to leave the house and beat the shit out of that kid. So, always been there to have my back. She recently had a similar cardiac situation that I had. And when you talk about hard work, not only has she bounced back, they now have her giving testimonials. She's on billboards and shit. She's got a huge head now. She thinks she's done, you know, something special. Big star in the family, you know what I mean? Like this. But she is, because she turned her entire life around and made this remarkable comeback. She's a fighter, and I'm incredibly proud of her. My sister Lynn. Her kids are here, Mason and Pete. I love them to death. Once I discovered wrestling, it was always in the back of my mind. It was what I wanted to do at 14 years old. I went to a gym because I thought, like, well, I gotta get big like the guys I see on TV. I gotta go in the gym and I gotta train. I went to the gym for the first time and I absolutely fell in love with it. And I would meet another person that would help lift me up there, Brian Zagaritas, who was sitting right there. Friends for 40 years. He was my first training partner. He was jacked up, college kid. He saw this 14, 15-year-old, 6'1", 130-pound string bean kid that was probably like the gym mascot, and took me under his wing and beat the living shit out of me in that gym every day to help me achieve my goals. And I'm forever grateful of that. Sitting next to him is a good friend of mine, Mike Belanger, who 40 years ago was a guy in the gym. I asked him to come out here because 40 years ago I was a guy closing the gym where he would be there every night and I'd be wearing him out with stupid stories about how I was going to get in the wrestling business and take that world over, and he listened to all of it and believed all of it and said, you should do that. And that kind of encouragement leads you to do incredible things in your life when you have somebody that stands behind you. So thank you. Around that time, I would discover Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'd watch a movie called Pumping Iron. I'd discover Arnold. I'd read a book that he wrote called Education of a Bodybuilder. I probably read it 1,000 times. in that book, there would be a blueprint that Arnold had as a kid from Austria that would decide that he was going to become the greatest bodybuilder on the planet, and then he was going to move to America, which was unheard of, and then he was going to become the biggest movie star of all time, and then he was going to get into politics and so on and so forth. I read that book like it was a blueprint of how to get what you wanted out of life. And it started in that gym, because the weights didn't lie. The harder you worked, the more you got out of it, the more you got out of it, the more you succeeded. And for me, that was everything. So Arnold became a big role model for me, and somebody that I would look up to my entire career and still do to this day. I've said this to him personally, he is the American dream. But without his sort of being there in my life, whether he knew it or not, and certainly he didn't know it at the time, he would inspire me to become something more. So thank you. Along the way one day, Ted Arcidi would walk into my gym, world's strongest man. And you know, you work your ass off for something, and then one day you catch the break. Here's this guy, he's been in the business, and I asked him to help. You know, I'm my early 20s. Hey, please guide me. Is there a place I can go train? It wasn't like now where you can just look on the internet. He told me, nah, you don't want to get in that business. It's a horse business. Stay out of that. You're a nice kid, don't do that. Yeah, I just couldn't take no for an answer, and he would turn me on to this grumpy old man named Killer Kowalski.
Wow.
Kowalski, in his own unique way, in a no AC, no heat having boxing ring that was like concrete, would teach me in his own unique way. He would see something in me, and you know, after the first day I trained there, which to be honest felt like the most natural thing in my life, I left there thinking I'm supposed to do this. He said, it was on a Saturday, and he said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I said, I don't quite have the money to pay you to train me yet. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get that. And I'll come back when I do. And he looked at me and said, no, you come tomorrow, pay me when you can, whatever you can, and I'm gonna teach you, and you're gonna be great, and you're gonna be a big star. And I never forgot it. He taught me things that I didn't even know he was teaching me, because most of the time I couldn't figure out what the hell he was saying. But I still hear myself saying a different version of those things to talent today, trying to get them to that level they're trying to aspire to be. I might not have known what he was telling me at the time, but they sunk in and helped get me to that next place. From there, I would go to WCW, and I see Eric Bischoff sitting right there. Eric took a chance on a gun, geographically undesirable, right? But he took a chance, and he gave me a job, and Eric, for that, I'm forever grateful. You gave me the start. You opened the door for me into something more. Thank you. From there, the first person I would meet in WCW was Dusty Rhodes. And it was on Dusty's last day as Booker in WCW, and I had no idea, and I'm kind of the one that informed him of that when I told him that Eric Bischoff asked me to come there. But he was wonderful to me. And later in life, he would become a mentor to me. He would teach me a lot of things, including something I take with me to this day: booking ain't easy, kid. And it isn't. You gotta work your ass off, and you gotta stay in front of it, always. Your dad meant the world to me. When I was there, people that would just give me words of encouragement that meant the world to get me to that next level. Arn Anderson would walk up to me after my dark match and tell me, "You just got yourself a job, kid. Way to go." And then later that night he would say, when the show was over, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I would say, "I'm going back to my hotel." That's it. And he would say, "No, you're not. You're coming out with us." I went out with Arn that night. Once he realized that I didn't drink or do drugs or anything else, I would go out with Arn a lot, since I could drive us home safely every night.
Yeah, you do, baby.
And also when he was in an unsafe environment for him, he would also make me go get a Popeye's chicken at all hours of the morning, which he would enjoy greatly. So it was a mutual relationship there. But I would learn an incredible amount from Arn Anderson, and I'm forever grateful. Harley Race, I would meet in WCW. Harley would walk up to me first day. I had said hello to him, he had said hello, and then a little while later would come up to me with a cigarette. "I heard you trained with Kowalski."
Uh-oh.
"Yes, sir, yes, I did." And then he stared at me for an unreasonably long amount of time. Then I was very uncomfortable, and I wasn't sure if he was going to hit me. I really wasn't sure what was going to happen, and finally he just took another drag and said, "He was the shits." "Yes, sir, I realized that. Yes, thank you very much." Harley would go on to teach me a lot of things, and a lot of people have a lot of wild stories about Harley Race. The one I will tell you is that when my daughter was born, Aurora, Harley went out of his way to personally, his wife told me, buy her a set of earrings that he picked out personally to come give to me, to give to Aurora.
Aww.
He was one of a kind.
Wow.
Guys in that time frame, and I'll just mention them briefly, that would give me a lot of encouragement, and I don't even know that they knew it. One was a guy named Stunning Steve Austin.
Who's he?
But he would pull me aside on a regular basis to give me little tidbits of, "Hey, when you're out there, try this, try that." He was one of the few guys in an environment that was really rough at the time that was actually giving and didn't need to be. And another guy I'm looking at directly right here is Mick Foley.
Foley!
Cactus Jack would pull me aside in the hallway and give me little tidbits of advice and things to do and things to look forward to. And his kindness always was a wonderful thing, and it meant a lot to me. And later, and I'll talk about it later, but I hope you know how much you mean to me. Terry Taylor, who unfortunately earlier today had a little bit of a medical incident, so he's not here tonight. I wish he was. And hope, oh, he is here. Jesus, can't stop you. Wow. Well, look, Terry Taylor was a guy that I worked with once. He looked at me and said, "How long you been working?" And I gave him the standard lie that everybody put on their stuff at the time, 5 years. And he was like, "How long you really been working?" And I said, "I don't know, like a year and a half or something." I got to WCW pretty quickly. And he said, "Man, you fooled me." He said, "Well, look, WCW has a place called the Power Plant. I know you don't have to go, you're a contract guy, but I go there every day to train. If you want me to take you the rest of the way and you want to learn, I'll be there." I went to the Power Plant every single day to work out with Terry Taylor and Steve Regal. Terry would take me into his home. His wife was a hell of a cook, but he would bring me around his wife and he would bring me around his kids. He made me part of his family when I didn't have one. And I was very close to my family. So being by myself in Atlanta, Terry made it a home for me, and he made me feel like family. I'll never forget that. Thank you. Steve Regal was sitting a couple of rows in front of him. We would ride up and down the road together. We were about to become the Blue Bloods when I left to come here. Sherry Martell was going to be with us.
Wow.
But as big of a moment as that maybe was going to be for him, you know, we had been told all these big plans, and it was great. He would come to me every day and honestly say, "Get out of here.
Bye.
Pack up and leave and go to WWE, WWF at the time, and let Vince make you a big star. Get out."
Wow.
To this day, he is one of my best friends. He says it a lot to me. He says it all the time. But I would for him as well. I'd take a bullet for you. Now I get to WWE. I leave there, and I come here. I don't know anyone. But one day, as I have tried to ride with a lot of people and realize these guys are not where I want to be. A lot of guys in that time just wanted to get in the car, not talk about this business, just get to the next town, do your thing, go work out, whatever it is, and just not think about work. That's all I wanted to think about. So after realizing a lot of these people to travel with aren't for me, I was in Boston at the airport getting a rental car, and I was just going to drive by myself to Portland, Maine. And this white sketchy van pulls up outside the window and starts honking the horn, and I think like some crazy person out there honking at me, and finally I see Kevin Nash's head in the window, and he's waving at me. So I'm like, "Here's Kevin Nash." Like, I'm in line, like I'm finally getting to the front. I've been in this line forever. This isn't order by phone days. You can ask your parents, they'll tell you about it. I walk out, get out of line, walk out. He goes, "Who you riding with?" I said, "I'm just gonna ride by myself. I drive up to Portland." He goes, "Jump in with us." He was by himself. I said, "Who's us?" He said, "Kid, Kev's, Kid, Sean, and Scott. I'm picking them up in a minute." I was like, "You got a lot of people, man. No worries. I'm good." And he said, "No, just get in here." So I went back in, got my bags, threw them in the car. And all we did was talk about business the entire way. And I loved it. Scott Hall would every night say, to us in those cars and in those vans, "Can we just not talk about business tonight? Can we just drive and just not talk business for one night, please?" But before we do that, you know, in your match tonight, and he would start to go into business, and that's all we would talk about again. But when Sean says, "How did I, the guy that didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do drugs, didn't do any of that stuff, how did I end up with them?" Let me tell you about the first night I ride with them. We go to Portland and we work. Kid's already laughing because he knows this story mostly buries him. We leave Portland, and at that time, not a lot of places to go late at night to eat, so we pull into a Denny's. It's packed, it's all college kids, and we're fairly recognizable at that point in time. I'm driving, so Kev's mildly in the bag. Scott Hall is very in the bag. Sean is pretty in the bag, and I'm hoping isn't going to get worse. He's sitting next to me. On the other side is Kid, who's perfectly fine. Kid has a habit of ordering like 5 drinks at one time. So he orders like, "Can I get a coffee, an iced tea, soda water, a lemonade, and a strawberry shake, please?" He's like the drink master. He's totally fine. I start to talk to Sean, who I'm thinking, "Oh man, he is getting a little bit worse." And I go to turn to Kid, and Kid is face down in his strawberry shake. At this point in time, Scott Hall is in a massive argument with the waitress that he saw the cook put a booger in his eggs. And he's adamant that this is, like, he has seen this, and he wants the manager, and she's not having it, and now the manager comes, and he's yelling at this manager about bring the cook out here. I saw him from over here put the booger in the eggs. Kev is just kind of looking at him, and I can't tell how bad off he is, but I realize kid is not getting out of this shake, and I gotta get him out of here. So I look at Sean and I say, hey, we should probably go, because Scott is in a position where they're threatening to call the cops now, and he's face down the strawberry shake. We should get him out of here. Sean straightens up for a bit. We start to drag kid up, and everybody's seeing this scene and making a huge deal out of it. You're gonna drag him out of this restaurant, and he catches his ankle on the door on the way out and starts screaming at the top of his lungs, ah, my ankle, you're killing me. It's getting worse by the second. We get outside, and now as he gets outside, he kind of passes out, and I'm starting to get really scared. And now out comes Kevin and Scott and the manager and the waitress, and a bunch of kids are following them, and they're calling the police. And I'm like, shit. This is day one, by the way, of traveling with them. I now put kid up against the van, and Sean says, is he breathing? And I feel for his pulse, and it's there, but it's there. And I panic, and I start slapping the shit out of him, because I think that's how I'm gonna wake him up. Sean starts to yell at me, what are you doing? You're kicking his ass, stop beating him up. Why are you beating him up? And I'm like, he's dying, I gotta try to wake him up. And now here comes Scott, what are you doing? He's mad, they're calling the cops. We can hear this going on, there's all these kids. Throw him in the van. Everybody else gets in the van. We at that point I drive him straight to the emergency room, where we sit for hours until he begins to come out of this. And Kev leans forward and tells him, just deny service and they'll let us go. And that's what he does. And we drive back to the hotel. My nerves fried. We get in there, and I look at the clock, and we have 1 hour before we have to be up and drive to the next town. And we get up, get in the van. It was daytime now, the sun had come up, so now Kev was gonna drive, because that's how it worked. Big Kev in the afternoons, me at nighttime. We would establish this relationship over time. Kid would now come downstairs 15 minutes later than everybody else, like usual, get in the van and say, hey, thank you guys for saving my life last night. Let's go. And for some reason, I loved it. And thought, I'm gonna ride with these guys all the time.